So one thing that's maybe happening during COVID is many people are stuck inside, and you could be noticing your house more as being like a place that makes you sick, or, you know, it's just kind of bringing up that question for you more. So I'm gonna, yeah, as I said, I'll share this page, which I think might be a good starting point. Someone commented they're not sure how to get on the chat. It can be a bit tricky on your phone. When you go to like the main page, there'll be some little prompts on the bottom that say chat, I think. But it's easy to lose it. I don't like it when I'm on a Zoom call on my phone because it's harder to find. Okay, so this is Jen's Where Do I Start page. And she went through her own mold story with her children. This is just kind of an overview that I like. Being committed, having a good attitude, being patient, kind of doing things on a schedule, and I would say kind of budgeting for it. I think those are great things. You're not always going to be in a good mood about dealing with mold, but just, you know, prioritizing your health. And when you're having a bad day, you know, keep going the next day type of thing. So she talks about, you know, saving money, but also there's some places you can't totally save money. I like this image quite a bit. It might be a little small. I don't know if I can make it bigger, but here's 20 things that she thinks are important around this journey. So knowledge of the symptoms, knowledge of the sources of mold, proper environmental testing and inspection, finding, stopping, and preventing moisture intrusions, remediation or escape and avoidance, or both, mold-free environment, avoidance, intensive prevention techniques. So these are kind of maybe earlier stages. Okay, I found out I have some symptoms of mold toxicity. I see that my house has had a leak. I've had some testing. I've moved out so it can be addressed. I'm avoiding getting into new moldy situations. Medical discovery would be more like testing your body. Mold detox diet, we can talk more about if you have any questions there. Binding mycotoxins, really important. Hydration, simple but important. Ongoing treatment of deficiencies, yeah. Treating inflammation, you know, it's a chronic inflammatory condition. Opening up detox pathways, this can be things like sweating, making sure you're having bowel movements, taking certain herbs to keep, you know, strengthen your kidneys, your livers, that kind of thing. Immune resetting, antifungal therapy. This was something interesting I thought about her protocol, was she does ongoing like rotated antifungals. Holistic symptom management. I like that one because you are going to have symptoms, so you can't just go after the root. That was sort of one mistake, I guess you could say, I made, was thinking, well, once I get all the mold out, everything else is going to be fixed. Well, it takes a long time to get the mold out, and it's disrupting so many body systems that just removing mold isn't really enough. You have to look at all the systems. Getting some movement, eliminating other sources of environmental toxins, mental and spiritual therapy, and exposure to fresh air, oxygen, and sunlight. I really like this one. And this is one advantage and reason we moved to Arizona, is the lower humidity, but I just feel better to be outside a lot. And if you have like certain chronic viral conditions on top of mold, you may, and you're welcome to say this in the chat, you tend to do better in an environment that is, you know, drier, sunnier, and you can be outside more. So this is the part where it's going to get a little scary. She's got 20 steps, but it kind of goes similar to what we talked about up here. Checking your symptoms, checking about your home, and like thinking about places where you may have had a leak. So this is a really nice, like pretty comprehensive list. So if you're one of those people thinking about your home and watching this webinar, if you look into some of these, this list right here about where it's all coming from potentially. Angie says yes to low humidity in a sunny environment. Yeah. You know, I'm not dissing on the Northwest where I moved from, but there can be a point in your health where it's just sort of a time to move. It's a beautiful place, but it wasn't the place for me anymore. So she also covers like some, you know, work area, like work environments, school environments, RVs and boats. I've definitely seen these before. Also could be mobile homes, like the kind you stay in, you know, permanently. Food sources, things like beer, wine, cheese. I would say animals conventionally raised, often eating moldy grain. That'll come right through. You don't cook out mycotoxins from food. It doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. So it can be in coffee, can be in things like grape juice, definitely peanut butter. Can't have peanut butter. Just wheat. So I've had one client so far who I really think his mycotoxins were only from his diet. So this is possible, but most of you guys, you're already eating pretty mold-free, but there may be some items you need to think about. Also in things like barns, I had a client who had a horse in a barn, and like she had fixed her house, but when she would go to the barn, it was an issue. Some medications and things related to mold, breast implants. And this is an interesting one on Christmas trees and decorations. I would assume because they're in storage. And this is a little bit about testing. Testing the home. Again, we're talking about that next week, so I don't want to get into that too much. This is a moisture meter. So when we had a mold inspector, they used one of these, and they can sense if inside your wall there's too much moisture. And most of our mold was inside the walls from improperly installed windows and additions to the home. We also had some issues with gutters not draining well. And this is another little thing. Well, I think there's a lot of versions of this, but it's like an infrared thing, I think you call it, where they can see if there's moisture. Looks like this is maybe something you would just attach to your phone, so that's kind of cool. So, you know, here she's bringing up some good points, like don't think you can see mold and then just start like cleaning like crazy and that makes it go away. Disrupting it can make you quite a bit sicker. So if it's like in your drywall and in your carpet, you need to have it professionally removed. Cleaning can happen after things are removed. Washing the walls, windows, that'll all help a lot. But first you have to get the mold out. So I'm just going to touch on a lot of these things because they're way too in-depth to go into in an hour. But if you ask me questions, I'll answer them later. So working with a mold literate practitioner, that's me and Mickey for sure. We've both been through this. We were already in the health space when we had our own mold journey, so we've got a lot of information. Medical testing, we talked a bit about that before I started the recording, that by the time you find out you have mold, you usually have a whole tangle of other issues going on. Some of them developed from your immune system being repressed by the mold. So here's some of the things she thinks are important to check. And some of these we do, you know, actively in our online clinic: candida testing, parasites, viruses, hormones. We are just getting ready to introduce heavy metal testing, Lyme disease testing. SIBO, we don't usually do the breath test because I can basically tell from symptoms and working with the GI map what to do about that. But I think she's got a valid point about SIBO. We just kind of address it a little different way. Urine mycotoxin testing, she's saying, is the most important test. So I really like how she's kind of rating things. We offer this test. We offer this test from Great Pines Lab. and then we do the dust home test from Real Time Lab. So there's just like 2 different, companies. There's probably a few more. She really emphasizes getting Lyme disease testing. So again, that's something we're going to offer soon. Let me just see if she's on or anything. So Suzette, I'll just copy this link into the chat. This is just, I'm getting this off of a website. I'm just sharing my screen. Whoops, that's the wrong one. I need to start over. So I accidentally put my shop page in there, but it's not a bad idea because it's where our mold specials are. And then I put the page I'm looking at. So Anna's saying she did a home test and the home test was negative, but the urine test was positive. Yeah, this can happen. Things can be a little confusing. Sometimes the mold levels in your home are just from like fragments and not like a real serious condition. I personally don't prefer the ERMI test either. So sometimes you get some false negatives in your body or your home. Candida, the best way that we test that is through the organic acids test. So I really try to encourage, if you're going to test your urine for mycotoxins, please add the organic acids test because it's a pretty rich test and it gives you a lot of information. So I like people to add that on. Vitamin D is included on our thyroid panel. She's talking about pyroluria and methylation here. I'm not going to get into this too much because it's pretty specific, but you can go back and see this if you want. So a couple things she does, I don't quite do like iodine testing, but we do full hormone and thyroid labs. The Marcon's nasal test we have information about. It's more trending as not as important to practitioners lately because it's so like hard to get rid of and like properly diagnose, but we do sell the silver nasal spray. So I should probably just make that into our regular protocol that you do the nasal spray for 2 months. But you can get this nasal testing from us. We just don't, we don't like push it in a real forward way. Again, we have heavy metal testing coming. We don't have testing right now for all these things, although this is not a bad idea. It's pretty interesting. We actually could add this to the Lyme test, but we do test for Epstein-Barr, as you probably know if you've been following along. Here she's recommending some more things. So, this is a lot, right? And you don't have to do it all at once. I'll talk later about what's most important to me. So here's a great tip. Keep your environment free of mold, moisture, and mycotoxins. At the same time, work on detoxifying your body and building your immune system. Great. It's very clear. This can take from 6 months to 5 years. Yep. So here she's talking a little bit more about keeping your environment clean. And this is such a giant discussion, so I won't get into a ton of the details, but it's very important you have a clean environment. Who asked? Renee asked earlier about air filters. So here's a few. Only use an air filter in a clean home. Don't use it in a toxic home. You're not going to really get, it's not enough to protect your health, and you're going to get it all covered with mycotoxins. So do not buy an air purifier to try to fix a toxic home. That doesn't work. Only use it afterwards to keep a home's air clean. Anti-mold diet we talked a bit about. I like this one. She talks about different ways to do detox. So some of them you've heard from me, doing Epsom salt baths. We have actually briefly mentioned armpit masks, but she's saying actually do it for like a body detox. So I love that. Sauna she's talking about. I love this little section. I think that's really nice. Making sure you're using a aluminum-free deodorant. I've never heard of doing an ammonia bath. It's very interesting. So that's she's saying if you have trichothecenes, do it. but you have to test your ammonia levels first. So that's a little out of my league. I don't know much about that. Talking about doing coffee enemas, so you know I like that. She gives some, here's a nice section on liver detox. And you know I love dry brushing and rebounding, and those are both on her site. I've also talked about lymphatic massage, which I had when I was sick. Mold and diet we've talked about already. And some ways to move the gallbladder, yeah, fairly important. Lemon water, juicing. Breaking up biofilm, she's got a section on here. It's pretty lengthy, so I'll just let you read that later. Water, clean water. She is giving some recommendations there. Green tea, binders. You know I love binders, so here's some that she uses. Some people like to rotate, and that's totally fine. We only sell a couple different binders on our site, but one is a mix. So one thing I thought she did was interesting is like she keeps rotating antifungals in an ongoing way. And once I looked at this, I was like, you know, I don't use all of these, but I use olive leaf. You guys know I'm really into, because it's also good for Epstein-Barr. I use silver, which you guys hear about, especially for me in the winter. That's when I need all these things. I use some of this undecylenic acid because it comes in our mega mycobalance. So I've been using that fairly continually to just keep down candida in my body. Aloe I like. Caprylic acid. I don't think that's in our mega mycobalance. This seems like a really trendy thing, flaxseed oil. Vitamins and minerals. Some people do a lot of vitamin C as a way to detox mold. Essential oils. We need to write a blog on that, but that's a pretty interesting topic. Getting your movement. Kind of keeping going, and then we're ending on some books she recommends. So that's kind of a nice big overview. I hope that was helpful. Maybe it was a little overwhelming. Marla, I would not take olive leaf every day. I would take a break. It's a pretty strong antibacterial as well, and you don't want to like constantly modulate your gut like that. So I would just rotate it. For, like, again, for me, I will just do 2 a day when I feel like my Epstein-Barr is flared up. The mega mycobalance, for me, taking 2 a day, I feel like I can do more often. Is it worth time to use the binders if you haven't cleaned up the mold? Yes. If you're still being exposed, then it will help get them out of your body while you're detoxing. Oh, thanks, Suzette. I recently heard about bioactive carbon as a binder. I'm taking activated charcoal. What's the difference between them? The bioactive, I think you're probably talking about the products from Cellcore. They sell a lot of things that are bioactive because they have fulvic and humic acid, and I think it just really helps it get into your body like deeper, maybe more into your bloodstream. There is also a way to like activate I mean, I think how can I say? I think activated charcoal and bioactive carbon are probably similar. They're both kind of treated. There's also like a activated bamboo that's sort of like treated in a way that sort of like makes it have more like holes in it. So it makes it more able for the toxins to bind in it. So I think it might be kind of 2 different things I'm talking about, but activated charcoal is a good basic supplement. It's maybe not as fancy as some other binders, but it's very affordable. It mostly will work in your gut, and it's great for bloating as well. Is colloidal silver safe to use every day? That's a good one. I would also rotate that. It's not as much of a killer as olive leaf, but I would, like, I've been spraying it in my nose at night during this COVID, but I don't take it orally every day. So I think a lot of supplements are worth rotating. Your body doesn't want like the same stuff all the time. So, but I wouldn't be worried about taking silver even for like 3 months straight or 5 months straight if you feel like you're in cold season or whatever. Suzette, yeah, I'll show you in a minute. Barbara, I shared earlier the link to the site I was on. So it's not a handout, it's just a site I was on, Surviving Toxic Mold. So there's that again. Diane is saying she has a large home. Mold was found in different areas of the home. The cleanup was expensive. I wanted to clean the areas that had the same mold that showed up in my mycotox. I haven't done anything yet. I don't feel sick. I don't feel different if I go away on vacation. One of the mold remediators told me to get an air purifier. Okay, here's an interesting case. Let me read it again because this is a good little case. Diane isn't feeling bad, although Diane, there must have been something going on that you tested for mycotoxins in your urine. So maybe share that. She's had her home tested. There's some different areas. Not all the types of mold match. It's expensive to clean up. She was thinking of just cleaning up the areas that match with her urine test. She hasn't done it yet. She doesn't necessarily feel better when she's away from the house and comes back. I would want to know more about your levels, Diane. And I will say that it's not uncommon that the house and the urine don't exactly match up because they're both just samples. So I wouldn't say only fix the ones that match your urine. Because you test your urine some other day, you're going to have the other ones. I would also want to know the levels in your urine and how bad they are. Because if they're really high, Diane, even if you don't feel bad, you're more at risk for cancer and heart disease and a lot of things. So it is something to address. And if you only got one quote on your house, if you get another quote. If the house doesn't have that bad of mold, like it's just sort of from, never having a dehumidifier or like overstuffing your closets. If there's no leak that they know about, and it's just, I don't know what it is, you can tell me more, but sometimes just super thorough cleaning, getting rid of some things could be enough. It just depends. Like a friend of mine is going to move into a new house and it was vacant for a year. So there's some mold positive, but it's probably just because it's been vacant and not cleaned for a year. So they're going to clean it and recheck it. But I don't know your issue, Diane. Maybe you wrote some more things here. You can write more. Okay. She's saying you have psoriasis, skin flares. Yeah. Skin issues are one symptom of mold. So if you think, oh, I don't have any mold symptoms, it could be from your skin. It's going to disrupt your gut. It's going to make you inflamed. It's going to burden your liver. It's going to disrupt your immune system. So I would actually, Diane, schedule with us. If you already have some tests, just bring them and do a past labs review and have us look at your labs and give you some advice on what to do next. So that's pretty easy. It's really affordable too. Oh, your psoriasis is already gone. Well, I would still have us look everything over because it seems like it's a question you still have. Valerie asked if I had a preference between the air filters. No, because I'm personally one of the type of person that running an air filter doesn't really make me feel any different. So the one I most recently had was called Conway. I thought it seemed pretty good. There's another company called Rabbit I've checked out that I think we still have an affiliate link for. They do clean the air. They just don't make me feel any different. So I don't know. I'm a big fan of just keeping your house clean, changing your AC filters a lot, that kind of a thing. But some people really love them. They really love the air filters. IQ Air and Air Doctor are more expensive. I think actually, Valerie, I would say I have a precedent. I think IQ Air is better, in my opinion. Okay, I'm just gonna check the Q&A. Barbara, I put the link in the chat for you. So this is not a list of mine. It was just a website I was looking at. Chiwa, getting the basement. I hope I'm saying your name right. We're getting the basement remediated next week. My husband and I have both doing Pectisol for almost 4 months. How do we know when you're done? What a great question. Okay, so this is I'm gonna go take you to our shop. You know you're done kind of 2 ways, because you don't feel bad anymore and because you've done a baseline before and after test. Because some people, like, who were we just talking to? Diane doesn't feel all that bad. It doesn't mean you're totally in the clear. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about testing and what we have to offer. This is our original test. This is a body test. This is the urine test from Great Plains Lab. One reason we chose the lab, besides they've been around a while and they really have a dedication to health, is because you can add on all these things. You can add on the organic acid test that includes the candida, glutathione, Clostridia, has some vitamin levels, oxalates. It's pretty rich, and it's how much more? $300 more. So it's still more, but I think it's worth it. Or you can add on chemicals and glyphosate, and then that's another $200. If for some reason you already have the mycotoxin and you just want the organic acid, you can do it that way. So this is a urine test from this company. We give you all the instructions, the kit gets into your house. And then everything we do includes a session with us. So I can kind of get a sense of a lot of you are sort of wandering in the dark what to do next. It's really helpful to have someone to talk to. And honestly, we're really affordable because this is your test cost plus talking to us for half an hour privately. So it's a good deal. So that was our original thing. But last time that we did a webinar in January, there was a lot of people wondering about testing the home. So I thought, well, maybe we should go for it. So here's the home mold test, and this is by Real Time Lab. We're talking to them next week. So every time we have a monthly theme, we put things on sale. So Detox Month, we're putting all these on sale. So this is sort of option number 2. If you just want to test your home, you can just do this. Again, it's pretty easy. It's collecting dust out of your AC unit, behind your refrigerator, that kind of a thing. Chiwa, I'm sorry if I'm messing up your name. If you're getting your house done, keep working on your house. After they remediate, first of all, probably leave when they remediate. Come back, leave when they remediate. Have it professionally cleaned with non-toxic products. Walls, everything. I don't know about your furniture and where that's all located, but know that if that's contaminated, it's going to keep being a problem. Get your test done if you haven't, Chiwa, now. Well, you've already been trying to bind, but get your test run now so that you can test again and see if you're getting better. Keep doing the binders, do the sauna. Those are 2 of the most important things. Have the clean diet. And then this is our newest thing we made, so it can kind of be bundled all together. So it's $150 off right now, and you can upgrade it to add hormone testing. It gets expensive. That's why we let it be optional to add the hormone testing, but I think it's, again, worth it. So let me show you what you get with it. Okay. You're going to get a baseline, just like I talked about with Chiwa. Hope I'm not ruining your name. Because you need to know, this is a mistake I made in my own journey. I didn't get some testing initially, so I don't know how much I changed over what period of time. But if you get this test, level 1, you'll get a gut test, a home dust test, a urine mycotoxin test, and that organic acids test that tells you about candida and cellular health. So that's a really great start. If you want to also test your hormones, which frankly are definitely screwed up from mold, then you can add on the Dutch test and the thyroid test. Now, I could have just made the whole thing include this, but I know everybody's sort of working their budget as they go through mold, and you may have already had some of these tests. So we would like you to do all the things, but if there's a reason you want to maybe budget and wait, you can also do that. So this package is a little bit more for, you really already know you have an issue and you're ready to get into it. You're ready to do the work, just like we showed earlier on Jen's, step by step. After you kind of like Chiwa, you're working on your house, you made some decisions, you have mold. Now you're like, I'm getting rid of it. I'm getting myself healthy again. So they both have 2 sessions, one sort of short getting to know you session and make sure you know how to take all your tests, and then a second session to go over your labs, give you a protocol. The protocol is all written down. You just have to go do it. You have a library of resources that we have. It's all pretty great. Mold sucks, but it's nice to have support. And I think what we offer is pretty unique because frankly, I have a lot of friends in this space who are MDs, just to see them is sometimes $1,500 just to talk to them. And then they ask you to run 5 labs and take 10 supplements. So you're getting a lot of testing and our private time to go over it. If you are like Diane, and you already have some tests and you just want our opinion, I would get this little thing right here. This price is going to go up soon because it's honestly so cheap. We will review your labs, up to 3 labs for $147 and talk to you about them. If you have more labs, it's more expensive, but we'll give you a whole hour to go over them. And we go over them beforehand and we talk to you about them, talk to you about what to do, and we give you written advice. So it's very thorough. Any questions about any of that? This is, of course, all at our shop. Let me put some of the links in the chat. So the past labs review, Diane, is maybe what you should do. Chiwa, you might want to do a urine test now or later, depending on exactly what's going on for you. Somebody was asking about hormone testing, and they might want to do the whole mold package with the hormone testing. I'll put that. I try not to make it confusing, but I know some of you have already bought tests and you don't want to buy them all over again. So just see what's the right fit for you. You guys are all really intelligent. Hi, Tim. Well, we didn't talk about ozone generators. I've never had one at my own disposal, but I have used ozone in a clinical setting as a patient. But I know some people really like it. Oh, Maria. Okay, so Maria's saying her daughter's autistic and was sleeping in a moldy basement. Oh, really, my heart goes out to you and your daughter. That's really rough. Kids can very much respond to all this too. They have youth on their side. They like to use a sauna, just not as long, not as hot. They can do binders that are powders. We have an article coming out next month on all supplements that are liquids and powders. So there's a lot you can do for kids. Autism, Maria, I don't know if you're already check for heavy metals too, gut infections. When those things clear up, you can do quite a bit. Okay, any other questions? Just noticing that I have to take another phone call in a little bit, a few minutes. Sherry said, my oat test indicated slightly elevated yeast and fungal markers. Should I still do a mycotoxin test to verify if mold is an issue? Yes, don't just assume you have mold because you have candida. Go find out your mycotoxin levels. They can be off the chart, or they could just be a little bit. And it's nice to know where they are. If you're off the chart, you need to get back on the chart and then go to, non. If you're not that high, then you don't have as far down to go. So you need to kind of know where you are to know what to do. Barbara's saying, can you talk more about the mold in your body being different from in your house? Yeah, so what I've noticed in my own testing and a couple clients I've had is you might run your urine test and it says you're high in like aspergillus and penicillium. And then you run a home test and it says you have fusarium and stachybotrys. Maybe not that one. So say, I don't know. So it just doesn't always match. And then you're like, well, what's right? But it's you have mold. You just have mold. Just the test, the test home is just a sample. And whatever happens in your urine that day is just a sample. So if they don't match up, it doesn't really matter. You know you have a problem and you have to address it. So Valerie, saying a OAT test just saying you have yeast and fungus is very general. It's not telling you anything about mycotoxins. So that's why you have to run that. How long do the mycotoxins stay in your system? They can stay in a really long time because they can populate your body. And if you're a poor detoxifier, they can stay a long time. Not all mold is toxic, no, Diane. But if the ones you're testing with your body, those are all toxic. In the home, sometimes they test a lot of different things. So you have to see, Diane, are the ones in your home toxic? Diane, you need to schedule. That's just what needs to happen because you might not be reading your home test quite right. Another disconnect that happens is the people who are experts in the home aren't always, they don't know much about health. So there's sometimes you're not getting like the correct advice. Okay, I'm just gonna take these last two questions and then I better get going. So Kathleen said, does mold in the body reproduce? Yes, it can. It can reproduce and it can give out more mycotoxins. Chiwa said her husband has had the tests and he has Lyme disease. He sees a local functional medicine doctor. Her house had 2 molds. She cleaned it all except the basement. I'm assuming that I have everything too except Lyme. He had had metal issues, which is what started it. After we ditch the mold, we'll go for the Lyme. We both have coughs from our sinuses. And you're using the colloidal silver. So Chiwa, I'd say, you're on the right track. We did some of the same. My husband had the urine test because we wanted him to get a work relief, but I didn't have it, which was, and now I think kind of stupid, but I get how it is because you're trying to save money. So you can do that, but really ideally, I regret that I didn't get tested. So make sure you're making sure your health is just as important as his, and do all the things that you need to do too. So the mold test on our website is a dust test. It is different from the ERMI. That's a great question, Valerie. It is called an EMA test, a test for mycotoxins and mold. An ERMI, I believe an ERMI, I just read someone's ERMI yesterday. An ERMI, I believe, just tests for spores and not mycotoxins, but I'm going to go double check. And then it gives you this score. And I just don't think the score is very reliable. So our dust test is testing for mycotoxins, so it actually get you sick, and mold spore count. So I just like it better. And again, you get a chance to talk about it with us. It's the same company I used to test our dust. But at the time, they didn't have the fancy EMA test. It was a little more simple. So, a brand that I've used and I think makes you feel better. How new is the EMA? It's not that new, I don't think. I it might have even been available when I got mine, but it was unclear. I'm not really sure. But you can get just a mycotox test from them. But for this like $100 more, you can get it combined with the mold spore. So why wouldn't you just do that? So mine just tested for mycotoxins at the time. Anyway, I don't think it's that new. But then we're going to have a whole interview on it next week. So we can ask him all these questions about all that stuff. Oh, she was said, okay, yeah. And Barbara, about Lyme testing, we can talk about that once we launch it, but I better go to my next engagement. Thank you so much for being on. I'm sorry about our guests. We probably had some time zone confusion. That definitely happens, especially living in Arizona where we don't change times. Thank you to all of you. And yeah, I hope you can come on next week as we talk more about mold testing. All these mold tests are on sale through the end of May only, which is what, 10 days away. So just keep that deadline in mind, or if you're just ready to get something, go ahead and get it or talk to our team if you have any questions. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.